Welcome to the Deep Dive from Neko Radio. You can find us over at nekoradio.com. And today we're going deep on something that feels like a real-life political thriller, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
The assassination of Désiré Kabila.
Yeah.
He was the third president of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Right.
And we're going to be looking at this YouTube video from RFI.
Okay.
Titled, and I'm going to try my best with the French here,
Wow.
24 Tempêtes de Justice, l'assassinat de Désiré Kabila, a thriller Congolais. So, yeah, get ready, folks. This is going to be a wild ride.
It really is a story about power and intrigue at the heart of Congolese politics. And Kabila's death, it wasn't just a personal tragedy.
Right.
It set off a chain reaction. I mean, it's still shaping the DRC today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, let's set the scene here. It's January 16th, 2001, lunchtime.
Okay.
Kabila is meeting with his economic advisor. They're preparing for this big summit, right?
Right.
And here's where things get really crazy.
Right.
Most of his security details on break.
On break.
Can you imagine that? I mean, the president that vulnerable.
It's, yeah. It raises questions, for sure. I mean, security breaches happen.
Sure.
But at that level, especially given the DRC's history, it's hard not to think that maybe it wasn't just a coincidence.
Yeah, it really does feel, like I said, something out of a movie, right?
Yeah.
And so the advisor, he describes this moment of chaos. So there's Rachidi. He was a member of Kabila's elite Kadogo Guard.
Ah, wow. The Kadogo.
These were the child soldiers recruited during those the rebellions.
You're fiercely loyal.
Yeah, fiercely loyal. And he bursts in, guns blazing.
Wow.
Shots ring out. It's chaos. Rachidi, he actually gets hit in the leg by another guard.
Oh, wow.
But then Eddie Kupend, Kabila's right-hand man, he rushes in.
Okay.
And he executes Rachidi right there on the spot.
Wow. So Kupend, he's immediately a central figure, right? I mean, did he just act out of loyalty? Was it panic? Was it something, I don't know, more calculated? It's the question that just hangs over the entire story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And in the immediate aftermath, I mean, the DRC is just thrown into turmoil. You have this power vacuum.
Right.
You have Joseph Kabila, the son. He steps in. He's the interim president now.
Wow.
And of course, the rumors are they're flying everywhere.
It's a breeding ground for speculation.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the investigation kicks off in this incredibly tense atmosphere.
Absolutely. Every move is going to be watched.
Oh, yeah.
Every word amplified. And as the investigation unfolds, we start to see this cast of characters emerge,
right?
Each with their own connection to Kabila, their own potential motives.
Okay, so let's talk about some of these suspects. So it starts with this taxi driver.
Yeah. He
claims he drove one of the assassins away from the scene.
Okay.
And this leads investigators to this building where a Lebanese family lives.
Interesting.
And they arrest 11 young men. And 2 of them happen to be related to Bilal Héritier Bakri. He was this Lebanese businessman who had dealings with Kabila's guard.
So you have to wonder, was this a targeted hit, or were they just, casting a wide net hoping to catch something?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge question, right?
Absolutely. And there were some accusations of racial profiling at the time.
Really?
The Lebanese community in Kinshasa, they felt like they were being unfairly targeted.
I see.
And to be honest, the evidence against these men, it was pretty shaky.
Okay.
So it really just added another layer of complexity to an already incredibly complex situation.
Yeah, and it actually escalates from there.
Oh, no.
So they arrest Kabila's entire close guard detail, including Rachidi's friend, Georges Marindi.
Wow.
And they even imprisoned their families.
Right.
Wives, babies, everyone. They were all sent to this infamous Grum prison.
Grum, I've heard of that place. It has a terrible reputation.
It's notorious for its horrific conditions, torture, overcrowding. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah. It's a chilling thought.
It really is. And it seems like they were really focusing on one ethnic group in particular. A lot of the suspects, including Rachidi, were of Kivu origin.
Was that a genuine lead, or are they just, scapegoating an entire community?
Hard to say, right?
It's really troubling. Either way.
Yeah.
It plays into existing tensions and prejudices.
Absolutely.
It makes it even harder to separate fact from fiction.
Right. So you have this powder keg of political tensions, these unanswered questions, and then whispers of conspiracy theories, they start to emerge.
Of course.
Some people say it was Katangan officers, those who helped Kabila rise to power,
right,
but then felt betrayed by his leadership.
I see.
Others point the finger at Rwanda, a country with, let's be honest, a very complicated history with the DRC.
Absolutely.
And then there are those who suspect Kabila's own inner circle.
It's like everyone's a suspect.
Yeah, and every motive is just magnified,
It's the perfect environment for speculation.
Right, like trying to solve a puzzle where the pieces keep changing shape.
Exactly.
And while the nation's trying to grapple with all this, the stage is set for this trial that will, it gripped the entire country.
A trial for the ages.
And it's going to leave us with even more unanswered questions.
This isn't just a trial, it's a battle of narratives.
Oh, yeah.
The state, the accused, the grieving family, they're all seeking their own version of justice, of truth, of closure.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is, and it only gets more intense from here.
Hold on tight, folks, because this deep dive is about to take a very dramatic turn.
So the trial, it starts a year after the assassination, March 2002.
Okay.
And it wasn't in some, grand courthouse.
Right.
It was held inside Makala prison.
Inside the prison. Wow.
Yeah, can you imagine? Cramped, chaotic, heavily guarded by Zimbabwean soldiers. This wasn't just about justice, it was about control.
Yeah, like they're trying to contain the story, right? Keep it within those prison walls.
Exactly. And in this really intense atmosphere, you have the key players taking their positions. There's Colonel Charles Alamba, the prosecutor, absolutely relentless.
Wow.
Then you have Eddie Kapend fighting for his life, facing the seemingly impossible uphill battle.
Right.
And then, of course, you have Jeanette Kabila. She's there representing the family, desperately seeking answers, accountability.
It's a lot.
It is. And the whole time this is happening, the international media, they're focused on the bigger picture.
Right. The peace talks, Joseph Kabila solidifying his power.
Exactly. So the trial almost becomes a sideshow to this larger political drama.
Yeah, I can see that.
Joseph Kabila needs to project strength, stability, a quick resolution, even if it doesn't reveal the whole truth, it serves that purpose.
So after months of testimony, the verdict finally comes down.
Right.
Eddie Kapend, he's sentenced to death, along with 30 others.
Wow.
85 people convicted in total. Even the general who ordered the execution of those Lebanese men, he gets a life sentence.
It seems like they were really trying to send a message.
Right. Justice will be served.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Okay.
After handing down these sentences, the judge, he states that they still don't know who actually orchestrated the assassination.
What?
Nope. So they've punished these people, but the real story, it's still hidden.
That's mind-blowing.
It is, and it makes you question the whole thing.
Right. Was this really about truth, or was it just about, political convenience?
Exactly, and the doubts don't stop there.
What else?
The murder weapon, it's missing.
You're kidding?
Nope. Gone. And then there's Georges Marindi, Rachidi's friend, the other guard. He was a key witness. He could have revealed a lot, potentially.
Right.
But he escapes from prison before the trial even starts.
Oh, come on.
It's like someone's going to great lengths to clean up the narrative, bury the truth.
Okay, so let's talk about those conspiracy theories for a second.
Sure.
You mentioned Rwanda.
Mm-hmm.
What's the connection there?
Well, Rwanda and the DRC, they have a long, complicated history.
Yeah.
Rwanda, they were actually instrumental in Kabila's rise to power, but things went sour.
All right.
Kabila was accused of harboring Rwandan rebels. So a lot of people believe that Rwanda had a motive, get rid of Kabila, install a more cooperative regime.
So they were pulling the strings.
It's hard to say for sure. There's no, smoking gun.
Right.
But the suspicion, it's there.
What about those Katangan officers? They were Kabila's allies, right?
Yeah, they were crucial to his rise to power.
So why would they want him gone?
Well, Kabila's leadership style, some people called it autocratic, exclusionary.
Right.
A lot of his former allies felt sidelined.
So they were resentful.
They felt betrayed, absolutely.
Okay. So they saw an opportunity.
It seems that way. Kabila had a lot of enemies, both inside the DRC and outside.
It's like a pressure cooker waiting to explode.
Exactly. So many people with motives, with grievances.
Makes it nearly impossible to know who was really behind it all.
It does.
Okay, but what about, the theory that someone in Kabila's inner circle was involved? That's got to be the ultimate betrayal.
It's definitely a theory that a lot of people find compelling.
Yeah.
Kabila was known for, wanting to control everything, so it's possible that someone close to him, someone who felt threatened or maybe had their own ambitions, they saw their chance.
And the fact that so many of his guards were, conveniently on break during the assassination?
It's very suspicious.
It really is.
We can't rule out just bad luck, incompetence.
Here.
But the timing, it raises a lot of questions.
Right. Was it deliberate or was it just a coincidence?
We may never know for sure.
Okay, but what about the missing murder weapon? I mean, how do you lose the gun that killed the president?
It's one of the most baffling parts of this whole thing.
It is.
This glaring omission, it casts doubt on the entire investigation.
I can see that.
It suggests that someone, somewhere, was trying to obstruct justice to protect whoever was really responsible.
And then you have Georges Marindi, Rachiti's friend, escaping from prison.
Right. He was a key witness, and he just vanishes.
It's like something out of a movie.
It really is.
Oh.
Shadowy figures, disappearing evidence, witnesses vanishing into thin air.
It makes you wonder if we'll ever know the whole truth.
It does. It makes you wonder.
Out of everything we've talked about, what do you think is the most important piece of information?
For me, it's the judge saying that they still don't know who is behind it all.
Yeah.
It just throws everything into question, doesn't it? The trial, the convictions, this idea that justice was served. Sometimes, even with a trial, even with a verdict, the truth remains elusive.
Especially when there are powerful forces at play.
Exactly.
Feels like we're in one of those, like a thriller novel, you know?
Yeah.
But we're missing the ending.
And the thing is, it's not just a story, it's real life. You know,
Right.
People's lives were destroyed, families torn apart, and the nation, I mean, they're still grappling with this legacy of violence and all these unanswered questions.
Yeah, it's a heavy truth to carry, for sure. So what happened to those who were convicted? I mean, did they actually, face the death penalty?
That's another part of this whole thing that's really, really strange.
Oof.
No executions were carried out.
Really?
Yeah, the death sentences, they were eventually commuted, and there's even been talk of pardons over the years.
Wow. So it makes you wonder, was the trial more about, sending a message than actually, like, delivering justice?
It's possible, right? A message of strength, of control.
Yeah.
Joseph Kabila showing that he wouldn't tolerate any challenge to his authority.
He was young, right?
Very young, stepping into his father's shoes in the middle of all this chaos.
Yeah.
He needed to show that he was in control, and this trial, even with all its problems, it gave him that opportunity.
It's almost like a performance, isn't it, on this big world stage?
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
But like we were saying earlier, there's a cost to that kind of maneuvering, those
Right.
unanswered questions, those doubts. They don't just go away.
They linger.
Yeah, they create this atmosphere of mistrust where
Mhm.
conspiracy theories can flourish and people lose faith in the system.
So what does this all mean for the DRC? Like, how do these unanswered questions, how do they continue to affect the country today?
Imagine a country where the leader is killed and nobody knows for sure why or who did it.
Right.
It creates this culture of suspicion. People start to question everything, the government, the courts, the motives of those in power.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to build a stable democratic society when you don't have that basic trust.
Yeah. It's like a wound that just never heals.
Exactly. The scars are still there, this constant reminder of the violence, the injustice, the questions that never got answered.
And it's not just about politics, right?
No, of course not.
There's the human cost, the families who lost loved ones, the prisoners who were, they were treated horribly,
Yeah.
and all the people in Congo who are still living with the legacy of this assassination.
Their stories are important. Their pain deserves to be acknowledged. Yeah, it's easy to get lost in the politics of it all.
Absolutely.
But we can't forget that there are real people who were affected by
Yeah,
it.
people with real lives.
The assassination of Désiré Kabila, it's a stark reminder that finding truth and justice, it's not easy.
Especially in a place as complex as the DRC.
Yeah. And the trial, it might have provided some sense of closure, but it didn't really give us any definitive answers.
It didn't, and those unanswered questions, they continue to haunt the country.
Well, this deep dive into the assassination of Désiré Kabila has been quite a journey, I'd say,
It has.
through political intrigue, conspiracy,
Yeah.
unanswered questions.
All of it.
Yeah, we've seen the fragility of power, the constant search for truth in the face of tragedy.
Yeah, it's a story that should remind us all to think critically, to question the official narratives, to fight for justice for those who can't fight for themselves.
And it leaves us with this challenge, right?
Yeah.
To keep asking questions, to try to understand more, to work towards a future where this kind of tragedy doesn't happen again. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the assassination of Désiré Kabila. We hope you'll continue to learn more about this story, about the DRC, and that you'll never stop seeking truth and justice in a world that often tries to hide them. Until next time, keep diving deeper from Merriam Rea.